everything in. So they were not scaling by organic growth, but by a series of acquisitions, and they are probably one of the largest partners in the world today. Is that the strategy that really differentiated them?
So a bit of background for everybody. We have $58 billion in the bank as a company. We are a $50 billion organization, and we develop businesses in one of four ways. We build it, so we internally engineer it. We partner for it, so we find somebody who does it and we work with them and we embed their product into our product. We invest in it, so sometimes you don't know the future of technology, which way is going to be the better way in the future. So you invest in 2 or 3 firms that do competing things for one of them to succeed. Or the fourth, we acquire, and that's only when we're sure about what we're doing. We have one of the most successful portfolios of acquisitions in the Valley. We've done 150 acquisitions plus or minus, and we're very famous for the quality of the acquisitions that we do. We don't usually try not to do very big acquisitions, but things that are easily integratable and digestible. Now, our strategy is these 4 elements. Nobody beats the drums when we build the next version of our routing and switching internally. But a lot of people talk about our next acquisition. So the acquisition gets more visibility. But our portfolio is balanced across the 4.
Okay, because my assessment, or my understanding up to now, or perception rather, was that you don't really do that much R&D. Most of it you acquire at least in the early days. Would that be accurate?
No, we do $6 billion of R&D every year. So, and that is, there's a lot of D in that, by the way, development, not just research.
Okay.
But I agree with you, and this is going back to the examples of DEC, HP, Compaq, and others.
Yes.
Is that when you look at innovation, innovation requires guts, requires courage, requires the ability to make mistakes, and also requires nimbleness and agility. And that's very important. The bigger you are, the harder it becomes to innovate and come up with ideas that are completely outside the scope of the 75,000 people that work for you. And that's the reality of Microsoft, of IBM, of Cisco, of HP, of companies that get big. You have to find the curve, how you turn it one more time.
We'll get into the management strategy and style in a little while. Let's just now talk about the Internet of Things. Does everybody know what Internet of Things is? Hands up who knows what IoT is. Would you recognize a Cisco router if you bumped into one? Or is it like plumbing, or is it like electricity? You know, they're everywhere, but they're nowhere. How many people see the Internet of Things in their lives? So there's actually quite an interesting gap here that we need to be able to fulfill. Please define what is Internet of Things.
In the world today, only 2% of what can be connected is actually connected on the internet. 98% of what can be connected has not yet been connected. There are 50 billion new devices that will be connected by the year 2020 on the internet. These devices require something to plug into, be it air, like Wi-Fi, or to plug into a physical router with a wire. They require bandwidth, they require security, they require a lot of other things. That's what we do. We connect these devices to the internet. Now, what's the point of connecting them to the internet? You manage them better, you digitize the physical process. Let me give an example just so that this doesn't become theory.
Yeah.
The light in the street today is on or off. That's it. The light in the street can be managed remotely, can be dimmed or increased. On an empty highway from Dubai to Hatta, the light doesn't have to be on at 100% capacity in the middle of the night when there is nobody on it. It could be dimmed to 30%, and as cars approach, it could go up and it could go down. This management, intelligent management of a simple process of a street light saves 90% of the energy consumed by the street light every day. 90, not 19, right? The benefit of that is huge. That's when you digitize a physical process and you put on the internet, and that's what we call Internet of Things. Multiply that by medical devices, the wearables that everybody's wearing, from Fitbits and Apple Watches and all this stuff.
Does everybody understand Internet of Things now?
Slight-
No, I'm serious, because if we don't understand what he's talking about, then we won't really make much progress. Because I actually go one stage further. I actually call it Internet of Everything. Because as we move forward, it is not about things, it's about everything. And when it's everything, what are we talking about? I mean, am I just going to be attacked by stuff all over the place? You know, rays going through me, and you know everything about my life. And
So what's missing from the things is people,
okay,
data, and processes. When you add these two things, it becomes everything. That's
Okay.
our definition.
okay,
So people are today connected. But the data generated by all these devices, the data generated by the cars in the streets, how many cars pass the street? How many, what's the temperature and the lifetime of the engine of a bus? And when do I need to do maintenance for the bus next? What do you do with all this data that is being collected from the devices? That's the data part. Processes is what I talked about earlier. How do I reduce the energy consumption of the street lights in a city? By connecting the light to the internet. How do I manage it more efficiently? That's the process part that you add on top of the connectivity of the things, the people, the data, to get the internet of everything.
Are people scared of them knowing everything? I am. Are you? What if anything goes wrong? Because that to me is one of the key things that big data can cause as a problem.
Of course.
Is the virus is in the wrong hands. How do we address that? How do we see that process?
I'll give two examples just to make the point, but then I can talk further.
Okay.
In the old days, when you went to the fruit or vegetables or fish market, the sellers used to take, the traders used to take money in cash and had to rush to the bank before 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock to put it in the bank.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they get robbed at home.
Yeah.
Because the thieves know that this is going to happen.
Yeah.
Many, many, many years later, came an ATM machine. You can actually still trade all the way to 9 o'clock at night and walk away with your cash and find an ATM machine and put the money in, and it will end up in your account. But they didn't trust that. Who puts money into a hole?
Yes.
That's worth it.
They do. They're very good at that.
The thief is waiting on the other side.
Yeah.
So that was not acceptable at the time. But with time,
Yeah.
became acceptable, became secure. I hardly ever go in a bank branch.
Yeah.
I don't even know why would anybody go in a bank's branch. So I'll give you another example. As a consumer, not a trader, which one is more secure? To buy on the internet and enter my credit card online, or to give it to somebody to go pay, to the waiter to go pay? Which one is more secure?
Probably the waiter.
Probably not.
Okay, I'm just being facetious.
Not if you're in, without being politically incorrect.
No, I'm just joking. No, being politically correct, waiters in this part of the world are extremely honest, so therefore it's very good. But I get your point. I think the issue with big data, and you're right, it's about culture and understanding as we go forward. I had may I share a story?
Sure.
I had a very interesting experience about a month ago. I went to Abu Dhabi, and I went to a place called Cognit. This is a company which is a joint venture with Mubadala, and it's in cognitive computing. And the computer is called Watson. Watson is the computer that beat Garry Kasparov, and then it won in Jeopardy. And it was very scary for me because what they said was that when they put my name in there, they know everything about me as I was walking in. So they knew my Facebook, my Twitter, everything. Because this computer can go in and cognitively understand every single thing about my life.
Yeah.
What they said was this computer is replicating us 98%, and only 2% is left. And it goes into the cloud and captures big data. So what is happening is that expertise, so if you're a banker, or if you're a cancer specialist, or if you're I don't know, an architect, all of that information can reside in Watson, goes into the cloud. So just like 25 years ago, the internet commoditized and democratized information and knowledge, today, computing like that, cognitive computing, is democratizing expertise. It's democratizing and commoditizing that. In other words, just capturing all of this big data. The reason I'm bringing this story in is that tomorrow's cancer specialist is going to be sitting on a computer because 98% of that diagnosis will happen. How do you reconcile big data, cognitive computing, Internet of Things, all of them coming together in this form? And how does it affect us? Because we're just left 2% relevant, because 98% can be done by a computer. How many jobs will be lost here?
We don't know what we don't know. So we're not there yet. So I think we're looking at the glass half empty.
Okay.
This will create new types of jobs that we never knew in the past. And
True.
we will not know them for a while until we get there. I think one of the things that you talked about, so there is security and there is privacy. Security is security.
That's right.
That worries me more. When all the traffic lights in the streets and all the street lights are connected on the internet and are hackable, I think that's something to concern me more than somebody knowing my date of birth or a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Privacy, to me, is very different from what privacy is for my children. My children don't even know how to spell privacy. They don't care at all. The way they deal with the internet and what they do every day, they have absolutely no concern about privacy. All the systems I talk about, they use what we call patterns of behavior. Not necessarily where is John. Nobody cares. But they care about, there are 300 people in a room, what is the safety measure that we need to take to make sure that everybody's safe if there is a fire? You know, something like that. When it comes to cognitive computing and the displacement of jobs for computers, I think this was the challenge in the industrial age with all the robotics taking over jobs. Now you have a factory with 10 employees because everything is done on a computer. You just press enter and delete.
Yep.
Right?
I think it creates opportunities. I think it's less of a problem, but initially a lot of SMEs are going to say that their jobs and their expertise can potentially be commoditized, and therefore we need to address that. Let's move on to smart cities, because that's one of your key areas. What is a smart city?
A smart city is about the people, not about the technology.
Okay.
And I'm a technologist, and I'm a technology company, and everybody thinks we should know better. But it's really about the people.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make sense to make the people happier that live in the city, then it's not smart. It's not the gadgets. So we believe that economic, social, and environmental sustainability is what people look for in cities. Economic means there are jobs, it's easier, it's cheaper to live, it's cheaper to maintain the infrastructure, it attracts foreign direct investment. That's economic sustainability. Social sustainability is the quality of the services delivered in the city, the quality of the services of healthcare, of education, of transportation, of safety. That's social sustainability. Then you have environmental sustainability, is the quality of the air that we breathe every day, the quality of the water that we drink, how you manage the waste. All of that is the environmental part. When you add these two together, any technology being implemented, any project being implemented under the technology umbrella needs to support one or two or all of these sustainability measures. I would like to stop there, because when you start talking about another layer of double clicking on this, and it becomes a geeky technology discussion,
Right.
which I don't think is important.
No, I look at urbanization. So if I look forward 10 to 15 years, the world is clustering towards maybe 500 cities, and about 60, 70, 80% of the population will be clustered in these areas. And I dare say that that's really an important trend towards smart cities and Internet of Things. Would you like to comment on that?
People live in cities that don't live in countries. I am an absolute believer that if cities had their own, football and Olympics teams, everybody would be cheering for the city way before their countries. We know and go to places in our cities, but we don't necessarily go to every city in the country we live in.
Yeah.
So cities will compete in the future for foreign direct investment.
Yeah.
Cities will compete, probably are competing
They are
now.
they do today.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are doing it today. Cities are competing for citizens to come in, for quality citizens to come in. Cities are competing for brands and franchises to come into their cities and operate, to create jobs. Cities are competing for talent and for universities to operate in their infrastructure.
So your customer, as far as the city is concerned, is your local municipality. Is that the counterpart that you are going to on a day-to-day basis? Do they become more important than the Prime Minister? Because he has a different view, and the governor or the mayor is looking after the city, or city of Manchester, or city of Hamburg, or city of Barcelona.